Welcome to Meals with MPC, the show for people who have to cook but don't like to cook. When I first met my wife about 20 years ago, I could make one thing. It was a tuna melt, but it was on a tortilla with a slice of American cheese, tuna fish thrown on top, microwaved a little bit, and then wrapped up. She thought it was disgusting. In this series, I'm going to show you how I make meals, and hopefully that will give you some ideas. Today we're going to be making tuna melts, and I'm going to do the original along with toasted bread. The ingredients you'll see here: got mayonnaise, tuna fish, can opener, bowl to put the tuna fish into, fork to stir up the tuna fish, some bowls to catch the tuna fish juice because the pets get to drink that, they always enjoy it, butter, bread, cheese, frying pan. One of the things you'll find with this series is I'm not very good at giving specific amounts, which actually bothers me. I've got an engineering background and I prefer to know exactly how much I'm supposed to be putting into certain things. Unfortunately, that doesn't always work with meal preparation. So I'm going to have to just fudge things, and you will too, and hopefully you'll learn with experience. Step one, open up the tuna fish can. Next step, drain the juice out. I like to save the juice and feed it to the dogs. I'm squeezing right now to get most of the water out. Take your tuna fish, put it into the bowl. Different people like to add different things into their tuna fish. I like to add mayonnaise in mine. My wife likes to have celery cut up into it, sometimes some onion. She uses sour cream to mix hers because she can't stand mayonnaise. I've known other people who like to chop up pickles and mix that in as well. So this is really about what is it that tickles your taste buds. I'd like to tell you, add 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise, but I can't because I don't know how much that is. I put some in and I mash it around until it's the right color to my eyes. You may have to experiment with this. Do it a few times and you check the consistency and see what it is that you like. Another thing that this series should hopefully do for you is it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to show everything coming out exactly the way it's supposed to. My mistakes I plan to put in as well. First thing that I'm going to make is going to be the traditional tuna melt on a tortilla. That's not very good. See, talked about making mistakes. I defrosted this quickly, and it's kind of a beat up tortilla, so that'll be fun to eat. All right. Here's Sam. This was microwaved for 30 seconds. And then while it's still hot, we'll take a bite. So let's see how this tuna melt on a tortilla turned out. Chewy. Tuna's a little over hot. Cheese is melty. I understand why my wife thought these were gross. Okay, now we're gonna prepare the sandwiches. I'm gonna get a fresh plate and leave that over here away from me right now. Bread of your choice. Usually I can get about 2.5 sandwiches out of 1 can of tuna fish, but in this case, since I've used about half of one already for the tortilla tuna melt, I'm just gonna make 2 sandwiches, one for me, one for my daughter. So here's where your calibrated eyeball comes into play, and you wanna evenly distribute the tuna fish so that each slice of bread has about the same amount. But hopefully it'll come out all right. You know, it's a tuna melt. So cheese coverage. I like to have a good even cheese coverage. Again, you want to get fancy? I would look at a Monterey Jack cheese, maybe a cheddar jack. That would also be pretty tasty. All right, so we've got our cheese on. We can close up our sandwiches. So now comes the challenging part. We need to butter these, and the butter has been out overnight. It's about room temperature. Is this going to be soft enough to spread? Because ideally what you want to do is spread this evenly to the edges of the sandwich. And actually this is spreading a little bit better than I expected it to. What's going to happen is once I get it in the pan, I'm going to spin it around, and that'll help melt the butter and get some good coverage. And then I will butter the rest of it once it's in a pan. Switch over to the stove and we'll start grilling up our sandwiches one at a time. I warned you before that this was going to be a show where I wasn't going to edit out all my mistakes. So one thing I forgot to include in the list of things you need is a spatula. All right, I'm gonna turn the burner on. Turn to about medium to warm the pan up. One of the techniques that I use is to turn the heat down slowly over time. The goal is not to burn them. That's a good thing. I'm using the back of my hand, a couple inches above the pan just to test the heat, and it's pretty warm. Take the first sandwich, put it in, spin it around. Hopefully you can see that the butter's melting, and I'm gonna put some more butter on this side. So, people are gonna say, hey, how long should you do it? Should you do it for like 2 minutes a side? Should you do it 5 minutes a side? My response is, I don't know. I really don't. What I do is I use my spatula to kind of test and see when the piece of bread that's touching the skillet gets to the point where it's sort of like toast. Right now it's still really soft. It's more like bread, so I'm gonna leave that on there. I might spin it around a little bit, make sure that it's centered over the flame and heating evenly. Let's see how we're doing here. It's still a little bit soft, but it's starting to smell a little bit like it's burning, so let's check and see. Hey, that's a good color. Do it a little bit more on that side. I like it just a little bit darker. You can also see that I'm rotating the sandwich around to try to get that even butter coverage, because I wasn't able to spread it evenly. My cheat is let it melt and then I'll spread it around. I have turned the heat down from medium to the first dot below medium, and I may go a little bit lower as it keeps going, because again, that skillet is continuing to heat up. We don't want to end up having the skillet so hot that it just burns the butter, burns the bread, but doesn't melt the cheese. All right, let's see here. Ooh, see? That's a little bit too cooked on the bread, so I'm gonna turn it down one more dot. Yeah, the bread's a decent consistency, except for the corners here. Those are still kind of soft. And you may or may not be able to see some of the smoke coming off of here, so let me check it, make sure I'm not burning it. Okay, I'm pulling this off. That's about as dark as I want to go. Sometimes I've gone further and burned them more. Okay, second sandwich. Butter side down, spin it around. I'm gonna open up the kitchen window. I'll be right back. I might even open up the front door for a cross draft. Okay, I'm back. Did you miss me? Thought so. All right, this, I don't think it's ready, but I'm gonna flip it. Oh, I can't flip it because I haven't buttered it. See? Mistakes. And one of the challenges, if you over butter, the butter can burn. You don't really want it to burn. You just want it to melt and help toast the bread a little bit. Using the spatula to hold the bread in place, or the sandwich in place, it's actually kind of making it a little easier to spread things around. All right, let's flip it and take a look. No whammies, no whammies. Oh, all right, that one's gonna be mine. The middle of it, overcooked, or burnt, as laymen call it. Again, this is a cooking show for people who have to cook but don't really like to cook. I'm just gonna check it. I don't think it's anywhere near being done. No, see, it's not anywhere near being done, but now I'm a little gun shy. Thing is, even this being burnt, it'll still taste better than that tortilla tuna melt. Let's take a look here. Not too bad. I want it just a, personally, I want a little more brown. If you pulled this off now, you wouldn't be wrong. I want mine toasted just a little bit more. Let's check this. All right, I'm calling that good. You think? I think that looks good. Turn off the burner. Now to cut your sandwiches before eating them, I like my sandwiches cut in triangles. These have been cooling for a minute or two as well. You cut into them right away after you take them off. The tuna and the cheese will just ooze out. That's looking pretty good. Oh, the other thing I forgot to add is you need a knife to cut it. You can use your spatula to cut your sandwiches, but I don't always have great luck with that, so I decided to play it safe and use a knife. So my daughter has graciously accepted the challenge of being a taste tester for the tortilla tuna melt first, then she gets to watch the bad taste. I mean, the taste out with a good tuna melt. So go ahead and take a bite. Tell me what you think. Doesn't have to be a big bite. That's just all tortilla right there. I don't think you got any. Did you get any tuna fish in that? Okay. Tell the camera what you think of it.
Meh.
Not terrible? Okay, so there you go. The tortilla tuna melt gets a qualified medium meh. So if you don't have the ability to grill something, you could use this as a backup. Not recommended for first dates though. All right, you want to try these? Ooh, look, mine's got all melty now. Cheers.
Way better.
Way better, she says. All right, well, that's how to make a tuna melt. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that, why are you walking off with it? You have another half a sandwich here. You should probably drink your drink that you left open from last night. And I brought some chips up too for you today. So another pairing with this, you can pair this with chips, you can pair this with a soup. You can pair it with a salad if you wanted. Thanks, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it somewhat interesting, got some ideas, and I really hope you'll watch us in our future episodes. Some of the things that we can do: baked chicken I mentioned earlier, sauteed asparagus. I like to put some pine nuts in if I'm getting really fancy. I think we'll also make rice bowls with teriyaki spam, some seaweed, sesame seeds, maybe some mandarin orange. It depends on what we have in our cupboards. So sometimes a lot of this is just what we are able to throw together. I might even have something simple like fish and chips by taking out the frozen fish and frozen French fries and making that for a dinner. These are all things that hopefully will help you come up with ideas to feed yourself, feed your family, and especially if you're not a big fan of cooking like I am. Not a big fan of cooking. Yeah. Thanks, join us next time. Once again, this has been Meals with MPC. I'm MPC. It's for show for people who have to cook but don't like to cook.